Hello, I am Austin Boyer, and I will be spitting random facts at you from this OMG Facts, Hard to Believe True Facts All Year Long book that I got from my parents on Christmas. It's technically a calendar, but start the timer in 3, 2, 1. The average computer user spends more time touching their computer keyboard than their spouse or partner. The colder the room you sleep in, the better chances are that you'll have a bad dream. A duffel bag is so called because the thick wool originally used to make the bag came from Belgian tongue and duffel. The hybrid offspring of zebra crossed with another equine is called a zebroid. Anatophobia is the fear that somewhere in the world there is a duck watching you. The world's largest equation statue is in Genghis Khan. Equation is the Genghis Khan equation statue in Mongolia, which stands 131 feet tall. Milk allergy, not to be confused with lactose intolerance, is a reaction to whey or casein, the proteins found in cow's milk. Milk allergies have been studied extensively, more than any other food allergy. A woman blink twice as often as men do. An elephant could die from a broken heart. The Empire State Building has its own zip code. About 1/3 of SpongeBob SquarePants fans are adults. Clinical lycanthropy is a psychiatric syndrome in which a man thinks he's a wolf. Furry. Cow space north of septic graze. They do this all over the world. In Italy, it's illegal to make coffins out of anything except nutshells or wood. Before our world was covered in trees, it was actually blanketed by giant mushrooms. These species towered up 7.3 meters high and up to 0.9 meters wide. Scientists found ancient fossils of these gigantic structures and were able to determine that they were from it. Baby red kangaroos were smaller than cherries when they were born. The first archaeological evidence of soup comes from 6000 BCE, and its primary ingredient was hippopotamus. Phobotrophobia is the fear of trivias about phobias. Hot dogs were first put into the buns because they were burning customers' fingers when served hot. The color red does not make bulls go crazy. Bulls are colorblind. Samsung uses a butt-shaped robot to make sure its phones won't break when sat upon. Hawaii moves 4 inches towards Japan each year. Women apologize on average 5.2 times a day, while men only apologize 3.6 times. Koi fish have been known to live up to 226 years. The temperature of the typical lightning bolt can reach 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 times greater than the surface of the sun. It's possible to walk to any point of the Pentagon in 7 minutes. A Jeep was once called a GP or a GP, meaning General Purpose Vehicle. The first product to have a barcode was Wrigley's Gum. 20% more antacids are sold the day after the Super Bowl than any other day. Recycling all of your paper, newsprint, cardboard, glass, and metal can reduce carbon dioxide emissions by up to 850 pounds per year in every household. Every second, roughly 4 babies are born and 2 people die. Minnesota has 90,000 miles of shoreline, more than California, Florida, and Hawaii combined. As an adult, you have more than 20 square feet of skin on your body, about the same square footage as a blanket for a queen-size bed. A 9-banded armadillo always gives birth to identical quadrupeds. About 30,000 Americans are injured by toilets every year. Currently, there are approximately 752 million domestic pigs worldwide, 406 million of which can be found in China. Mr. Potato Head was the first toy advertised on television in 1952. Caffeine is more addictive than marijuana. It takes 12 bees their entire lifetime to collectively produce just 1 tablespoon of honey. Early designs for Toy Story's Buzz Lightyear revealed the action figure was originally going to be named Lunar. Maine is not the easternmost state in the United States. Alaska is the easternmost and westernmost state in the U.S., as well as the northernmost. Harry Truman was the last president with a college degree, maybe Joe Biden. Put 2 straws in your mouth, one side a drink and one outside it. You won't be able to drink through either straw. Each year, the moon orbits moves about 1.5 inches away. 1.5 inches farther away from Earth. SOS does not stand for save our ship or anything. It is simply the easy code to transmit via Morse code. Tattoo coloring and Legos are composed from the same material: acrylonite, bowline, stearine. Sales of shawarma skyrocketed soon after the release of Marvel's The Avengers. The number of calories in Girl Scout cookies sold each year totals to about 210 billion, 162 million. The ice on the back of the neck can sometimes stop or slow a nosebleed. Ice cream was invented in ancient China in 200 BCE. A way you can tell if you're whispering or not is to put your hand at your throat. If you feel vibrations, you're talking. If you don't, you're whispering. The blood in the famous shower scene in Hitchcock's Psycho was, in fact, Hershey's chocolate syrup. Chocolates, yeah. Did I get that right? Hold on, sorry. What did I miss? Seven-Up, invented in 1920, contaminated lithium, the drug now commonly prescribed to sufferers of bipolar disorder. In 2011, 27 baby girls were named Khaleesi. It means queen in the fictional language from Game of Thrones. Egyptians were the first to wear glitter, which were composed of crushed beetle skulls. Apraxia is the inability to concentrate. Kellogg's cornflakes and graham crackers were originally developed to curb sexual urges. Queen ants can live up to 28 years. Banging your head against the wall burns 150 calories an hour. 18% of an American income is spent on transportation. A black ribbon the size of a matchbox can support 9 tons of weight. That's 4 times as much as concrete can support. The goldfish named Tish lived to be 43 years old, making it the oldest goldfish ever. If you were able to put Saturn in water, it would float. Horses remember people who have treated them well. The longest mustache ever was recorded was 12.5 feet long. In 1885, the world's first skyscraper was built in Chicago. In 1869, a dentist was the first person to add sugar to chewing gum. In the 1700s, barbers not only gave haircuts and shaves, but also pulled teeth, performed minor surgery, and did bloodletting. Heartbreak can literally kill you. Damage from a breakup or loss of a loved one can lead to a heart attack. The average woman's uterus expands to 500 times its normal size during pregnancy. Golf balls were made out of wood until the 16th century. Our sun will never explode. It is far too small to generate enough energy to become a supernova. In Japan, Christmas Eve is the time to eat strawberry shortcake and KFC fried chicken. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho features the first shot of a flushing toilet in mainstream American cinema. The Basenji is a unique breed of dog and can't bark but instead yodels. Every year the earth becomes about 12 tons heavier because of meteors landing. Egypt's Great Pyramids and OS estimated 6,648,000 tons. India has more cell phones than toilets. Lightning is 5 times hotter than the sun. The ancient Celts were the first to ferment and distill grains into whiskey. They called it water life. A barren plain in South Dakota is the only place in the lower 48 states that is more than 100 miles per hour in McDonald's. A space vehicle must travel at a rate of 7 miles per second in order to escape Earth's gravity. Due to the amount of mercury in Lake Michigan, more than 40% of the fish are born autistic and don't survive past their first year. Male orb weaver spiders give back rubs to their mates so they don't get eaten. In Alaska, it is illegal to whisper in someone's ear while they're moose hunting. Cats sweat through their pads of their feet. The earliest pelican fossil on record is a 30-million-year-old skull that was found in the Oligocene deposits of France. More than 52 million tons of paper products were recycled in 2018. That's roughly the same weight as almost 350,000 blue whales. Every Sunday, the United States wastes nearly 90% of the recyclable newspapers. This wastes about 500,000 trees. The skin that peels off after sunburn is called blight. Octopus ink doesn't just hide the animal. The ink also physically harms enemies. It contains a compound called teraniacin, which in humans helps to control the production of the natural pigment melanin. The hair dryer was the offspring of 2 unrelated inventions, the vacuum cleaner and the blender. Elephants are extremely stereotypes. The most bird bones are so hollow and light their feathers weigh more than their skeleton. Dysania is a state of finding it hard to get out of the bed in the morning. The principal use for nicotine, other than for cigarettes, is for insecticide. A snood is a type of hairnet used to protect and shape mustaches. The term brain freeze was invented by 7-Eleven to explain the pain one feels when drinking a Slurpee too fast. Without an atmosphere, the surface temperature on Earth at the equator would be 176 degrees by day and fall to negative 200 degrees at night. Since space is vacuum, the laser beams in Star Wars will not be visible, nor would you be able to hear the explosions. In most of the world's languages, the word for mother begins with the letter M. In Chinese, the KFC slogan, "Finger licking good," comes out as "eat your fingers off" in its literal interpretation. Chocolate milk was originally sold as medicine. There are at least 100,000 chemical reactions going on in a normal human brain every second. A platypus will close its eyes, ears, and nose while hunting for food. Plants grow larger and more quickly when watered with warm water, and than those watered with cold water. From groundbreaking to opening day, Disneyland was built in just 365 days. Grapes explode when you put them in the microwave. Pelicans can survive between 10 to 30 years in the wild. Boars, pigs, and hogs live all over the world except for Antarctica, northern Africa, and far northern Eurasia. According to the Encyclopedia for Life, for example, red river hogs, Potamogus quercus, also called bus pigs, are found in Africa. Barbarius, baby Russia, or pig deer are found in Indonesia, and Visean water pigs, Sus capricorns, come from the Philippines. McDonald's milkshakes contain seaweed in the form of an extract called carrageenan. The microwave was invented after a researcher walked up by a radar tube and a chocolate bar melted in his pocket. Backpfeffenheit is a German term for a face that really badly needs much. Like fingerprints, everyone's fingerprint is different. The strongest Earth's winds in the solar system are found in Neptune, where they have been measured at 1,500 miles per hour. Sweden has 221,800 islands, 1,000 of which are populated. A 19th century costume designer invented the horned Viking helmet. Months that begin on Sunday will always have a Friday the 13th. You burn more calories sleeping than watching television. Brandy is the liquor most likely cause of a sleepier hangover. 85% of American shoppers go to their right when entering the store. At the beginning of Kansas, it is illegal to sing the alphabet on the street at night. Two pieces of metal get stuck together in space, they'll be stuck together permanently. At the turn of the 20th century, boys were dressed in pink and girls were dressed in blue. The Boston University Bridge is the only spot in America where a boat can sail under a train driving under a car, under an airplane. The Mall of America, located in Minnesota, is about the size of 78 football fields. If you walk and talk with someone, eventually you will synchronize your steps with each other. Researchers found that imagining doing exercises actually increases muscle strength. Did you know that O can be distributed down 10 different ways? There's cough, which rhymes with off, and up, which rhymes with stuff, do, which rhymes with no, do, through, which rhymes with do, thought, which rhymes with all, plow, an alternative spelling of plow, hiccup, an alternative spelling of hip up, hoke, an alternative spelling of hop, low, or lock, an alternative spelling of lock, and thorough, which has a different pronunciation in the UK than it does in the American language. Istanbul, Turkey is the only city in the world located on 2 continents. Monaco has the highest per capita ownership of a Rolls-Royce car in the world. Everyone has a unique smell, identical twin smells so like that most times. Only trained dogs can tell the difference. Cinco de Mayo was started by Mexican Americans living in the United States. The idea of painting fingernails was originated in China, where the color of someone's nails indicated their social rank. Humans are estimated to pronounce 1 to 2 liters of saliva every day. There are nearly 7,000 languages spoken in the world today. A King of Hearts is the only king without a mustache on a standard playing card. Director Spielberg made his first film for a merit badge. The inventor of television, Philo Farnsworth, developed the concept when he was 14. Some octopi turn to a disturbing behavior known as autophagy, or eating their own appendages in non-stimulating environments when they are bored. Meaning of the phrase pipe dreams refers to ideas thought out while smoking opium. Trash cannot yawn. The most germ laden place on the toilet isn't the seat or even the bowl, it's the handle. In Britain's 2001 census, 390,000 people listed Jedi as their religious affiliation. For a person with normal hearing, when it comes to a pitch, the human hearing range starts low at about 20 Hz. That's about the same as the lowest pedal on a pipe organ. A single portobello mushroom can contain more potassium than a banana. While in Youngstown, Ohio, it is against the law to run out of gas. Australia is the only continent without an active volcano. It cost $20,000 for a football game to broadcast the yellow line. During the 1909 World Fair in Seattle, a baby was given away in a raffle. Most pelicans don't dive bomb their prey. They scoop it up while treading along on the water surface. To increase their chances of success, the birds occasionally form hunting parties, gathering in a U-shape and beating their wings on the water to corral fish into a tight cluster, or drive them into the shallows. Hershey's Kiss got its name by the puckering sound made by the manufacturing equipment as the chocolate was dropped into the conveyor belt. The oldest recipe in existence is a recipe for beer. The longest distance ever traveled to by a book is 3,950 miles. Emerson Sparks flew from Chicago to London to buy the 5th Harry Potter book. Humans don't just shrink with age, we shrink every day. Humans shrink and regain height daily, sometimes as much as 3/4 of an inch in one day. Then we move throughout the day. The fluid disc in our spinal column compresses when we shrink. When we rest at night, our backbones reabsorbs the fluid and our height comes back. Newborn babies cry, but they have no tears. Their tear ducts aren't formed until they are a month old. Flamingos are born with gray feathers and they turn pink from the diet of shrimp. 67% of dog owners buy holiday gifts for their pets. In Oklahoma, it's illegal to wrestle bear. The Michigan Stadium, the Big House, has the greatest seating capacity in the U.S. at 107,601, but has hosted crowds as large as 115,109. Go Blue. Most abused drug in the world is caffeine. Light doesn't always travel at the speed of light. The speed of light is only constant in a vacuum. When it passes through matter, it can slow down photons, light particles, pass through water at 3/4 of the regular speed of light. Light was once slowed down at 38 miles per hour. 85% of the Fortune 500 key executives are fraternity or sorority members. The North Pole of Uranus is dark for 42 years at a time. Founding fathers Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and James Monroe all died on July 4th. A violin contains 70 different pieces of wood. In Washington State, you must ask permission before sleeping in someone else's outhouse. In Paraguay, dueling is still illegal, as long as both parties are blood donors. The 5 interlocking living rings are black, blue, red, green, and yellow, because at least one of the colors appears on every flag. Tipping is actively discouraged in New Zealand, Singapore, Thailand, and Japan. Lightning strikes the earth over 100,000 times a day. Of these, 10 to 20% cause a fire. Around 1,600 New Yorkers are bitten every year by other New Yorkers that are not dogs. Combined American children spend 6.3 billion hours a year coloring with their crowns. Llamas have Q-shaped poop. Walt Disney World Resort encompasses 30,500 acres, making it approximately the same size as San Francisco. 11 plus 2 and 12 plus 1 are both equal to the same. To 13, and both have 13 numbers. In fact, they both have the same 13 numbers. Rose originated in the 6th century in BC. The Greeks created the original pink, light red wines, but these first attempts were to dry off the tannic due to prolonged contact with grape and skin during fermentation. Banana trees are actually a type of flowering herb. The Beastie Boys album License to 3 was the first rap album to get #1 on the Billboard charts. The human tooth was about 55 miles of canals in it. The average person has 100,000 hairs on their head. Each hair grows about 5 inches, 12.7 centimeters a year. The first lawnmower was an adapted carpet cutting machine. In Oklahoma, it is illegal to wear boots to bed. They must be removed before falling asleep. On the website, wearing shoes is perfectly okay. The actual communication from Apollo 13 was, Houston, we've had a problem. The dinosaurs became extinct before the Rockies or the Alps were formed. Archaeological evidence suggests that pigs were domesticated around 10,500 years ago in the Near East before farmers first brought them to Europe around 8,500 years ago. The first Rolls Royce marketed in 1906 sold for about $784. Now it would be about $295,000. Less than 1% of books sell more than 50,000 copies. Persia and China were the first to develop windmills, and they've been around since 2000 BC. Mount Olympus on Mars is the highest mountain in the solar system. It is 14 miles high and 388 miles wide. Mondays are the most unproductive days of the week. On average, only about 3.5 hours of work are actually done on Mondays. The only muscle in your body that is attached to at only one end is your tongue. The sentence, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, uses every letter in the alphabet. The human heart creates enough pressure to squirt blood 30 feet. That's awesome. August 13th is Left-Handers Day. Launched in 1992, this yearly celebration raises awareness of difficulties experienced by left-handers. I'm actually a right-hander. The right hand is mentioned positively 100 times in the Bible, while the left hand is mentioned only 25 times, all negatively. Dang. German is the only language that requires a capitalization of all nouns. Swims and noon are words that can be flipped backwards and upside down and be spelled the same way. French fries were actually invented in Belgium. Longest Monopoly game in history lasted 70 days straight. Coke makes so many different beverages. If you drank one per day, it would take you over 9 years to drink them all. In 1909, an exploding storage tank flooded the streets of Boston with a wave of molasses. It's 15 feet high. I knew that. It would take 7 billion particles to fog or fill a teaspoon. A fog to fill a teaspoon. Ever heard of a cryvolcano? It's a volcano that shoots out ice rather than lava. Cryvolcanoes only exist in outer space. They can be found on icy moons. A jellyfish with tentacles measuring 120 feet washed ashore in Massachusetts Bay in 1870. If you take your age and multiply it by 7, then multiply it by 1,443, the product repeats your age 3 times. The Bible is the most shoplifted book. Wow. Castoreum, aka beaver anal juice, is most commonly found as a flavor enhancer in raspberry products or vanilla. On any given day, 400 million people across the globe will have sexual intercourse, which means that about 4,000 people probably are doing it right now. A Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3... Hold on. Thousand, million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion. 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489 million, 856,000 possible configurations. Red hair is the rarest human hair color. Only 1 to 2% of the population are redheads. Most bank robberies occur on a Friday. Rats laugh when you tickle them. An astronaut can be up to 2 inches taller returning from space. The cartilage discs in the spine expand in the absence of gravity. Males of some praying mantis species cannot copulate while their head is attached. The female initiates sex by ripping the male's head off. The humans actually have 9 senses, not 5, including thermoception, the sense of heat or its absence, on our skin. Frosted Flakes mascot Tony the Tiger has a wife's son, Tony Jr., and daughter, Antoinette, which were used in the first commercials. The number of possible ways of playing in the first 4 moves or per side in the game of chess is 318,979,564,000. Temperature of milk inside a cow is 101 degrees Fahrenheit. It takes somewhere between 144 licks and 411 licks to get to the center of a teapot. Thinking in a foreign language makes the decisions more rational. The difference between a nook and a cranny is that a nook is a corner and a cranny is a crack. It's impossible to hum while you're holding your nose. It took 220 years after the pencil was invented for someone to invent a razor. An average of 1.2 million acres of U.S. woodland burned every year. Qui is the only word in the English language that is still pronounced the same way when the last it's Q. Q is the only word in the English language that is still pronounced the same way when the last 4 letters are removed. Students in Holland built a robot that pours a perfect glass of beer. It takes 1 minute 11 seconds and to support the ideal mix of beer and froth. Chewing gum can help improve one's memory. Almost 3/4 of all the fresh water in the world is in Canada. In the shellfish family is the crustacean group. Examples: shrimp, lobsters, crabs, that causes the greatest number of allergic reactions. Many shellfish allergic people can tolerate mollusks, such as scallops, oysters, clams, and mussels. However, anyone with shellfish allergy symptoms should consult with an allergist before eating any kind of shellfish. The first college t-shirt was from the University of Michigan. The word robot comes from the Czechoslovakian word robotovat, which means to work really hard. The men who took the famous photo of the Wright brothers' first flight had never seen a camera before that day. Tiger shark embryos fight each other in their mother's womb. The survivor is born. Almonds are members of the peach family. When an egg floats in water, it has gone bad and should not be eaten. One out of four adults can tell their left from their right. When the Big Mac was first sold in 1968, it cost 45 cents. 65% of test subjects had the urge to yawn after merely reading about yawning. Ugh. The U.S. has the most English speakers of any country. Of any country. Close second, India. So far, man has survived on Earth for 2 million years. The dinosaurs lasted 150 million years. The average person has more than 1,460 dreams a year. Pepper is the top selling spice in the world. The second is mustard. Of the 247 billion email messages sent every day, 81% are pure spam. In Toy Story's most productive week during production, Pixar completed 3.5 minutes of animations. King Richard II once had to pawn his crown because he was such a spendthrift. October 12th is the International Moment of Frustration Scream Day. Ah! All Earth's continents are wider at the north and at the south. The color green used to be considered unlucky in Ireland since it was associated with fairies who stole children and brides. Also, in 1830, the average American was consuming 1.7 bottles of hard liquor per week. Jaws was the first movie to earn $100 million in the box office. Breathing air in Mumbai, India, for just one day is equivalent to smoking 2.5 bags of cigarettes. Cat urine glows under a black light. Crickets hear from their knees and chirp from their wings. The U.S.-Canada border is the longest border in the world without a military defense. An olive tree can live over 2,000 years. Mosquitoes can fly through raindrops without getting hit. Showering mascara is the most common way people pass on eye infections like pink eye. A grizzly bear has enough bite strength to crush a bowling ball. Bulletproof vest, fire escapes, windshield wipers, and laser printers were all invented by women. Female oysters will release between 5 and 8 million eggs into the water at a time. There is an 80% chance that a dollar bill contains remnants of cocaine. Awesome. Bats are blind, and some don't use echolocation at all. Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone, never phoned his wife or his mother, but they were both deaf. It would take more than an hour for a heavy object to sink to the deepest part of the ocean. The focusing muscles of the eyes move 100,000 times a day. Laptop screens that Apple stores are open to exactly 70 degrees. They want people to touch their computer, and the angle forces them to. Butter was the first food product allowed by law to have artificial coloring. Steven Spielberg's first film, The Last Gunfight, was 9 minutes long and recorded on 8mm film. It fulfilled the requirement to earn his photography merit badge for the Boy Scouts when he was just 11 years old. They already said that. An ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain. All the matter that makes up the human race can fit into a sugar cube. This is because atoms are mostly empty space. If you crammed all the atoms of human beings together without any wasted space, they wouldn't be any bigger than a sugar cube. However, that sugar cube would weigh 5 billion tons. Lions sometimes made up to 40 times a day. Wow. Drinking 2 glasses of wine has the same effect on your body as staying awake for 17 hours. In early 20th century, windmills were optimized to more easily take advantage of wind power. They could reach the output of around 100 horsepower. There is no area in Japan that is more than 100 miles from the sea. Black pepper was once so valuable that it was used as currency. The bumps on toes are not warts but skin glands. Jimi Hendrix failed his high school music class. In the 1920s, popcorn was banned from the movie theaters because it was too noisy. In the average trick-or-treater's bag, there's around 5,435 calories. Flies are not able to hear any sounds at all. A tiger's tongue is so rough it can lick the painting off a building. The word planet comes from the Greek word for wanderer because the planets will move while the stars remain still. Chuck E. Cheese and Atari were dreamed up by the same person, William Afton. During the 19th century, British soldiers in India tested their marksmanship by hunting a small elusive bird called a snipe. Individuals who were adept to actually hitting snipe were referred to as snipers. The lethal dose for caffeine for humans is 10 grams, or about 100 cups of coffee consumed in 4 hours. From one giant redwood to Sequoia, it would be impossible to build 60 average-sized human houses. In order to burn all the super-sized Coke, fries, and Big Mac, you would have to walk for 7 hours straight. An eyelash lives about 150 to 200 days before it falls off. New parents will lose 200 to 750 hours of sleep in their baby's first year. George Washington grew marijuana in his garden. In the U.S., the typical school year is 180 days. In China, it's 251 days. In 75% of American households, the woman manages the money and pay the bills. It takes about 3 apples to make 1 glass of apple cider. Dolphins shut down half of their brains when they sleep. From 1941 to 2006, the Michigan law awarded every citizen a bounty of 10 cents per crow. On the $1 bill, there's an owl in the upper left-hand corner of the one and the spider head on the upper right. Before people drank coffee, they had been chewing on its beans for 400 years. At its height, the British Empire ruled over 23% of the world's population. The Empire State Building in New York gets struck by lightning about 23 times a year. In 1912, it cost $7 million to build the Titanic, and in 1997, $200 million to make a film about it. You cannot taste food unless it is mixed with saliva. Subway was created by a 17-year-old Frederick DeLuca, which was only looking for a way to pay out of medical school. Studies have shown that when someone keeps a secret, they are physically burdened. Keeping a secret literally weighs you down. Goodbye came from the Middle English God Budi, which means God be with thee. A lion's roar can be heard from 5 miles away. There are more head and spinal injuries from cheerleading than all the other high school and college sports combined. The original pack of Skittles doesn't contain the color blue, therefore you can't actually taste the rainbow. In Singapore, you can't walk you can't walk in your house naked. Well, you could, but you'd possibly be facing a $1,136 fine. Dang it! Go is the shortest complete sentence in the English language. In 1968, the first interracial kiss on television took place on Star Trek. Over 50% of the world's population lives within 60 miles from a seacoast. Goldfish have a memory span of several months, which can be even trained to do tricks. The words Hong Kong can be spoken without moving lips. One tree can filter up to 60 pounds of pollutants from the air each year. Hope you liked me spitting facts. Now you can learn about stuff. Jeez, that took 20